Hi guys, welcome back. It's been a minute since I've actually recorded. Well, I've recorded but then I've deleted because I things happen or I don't finish recording, or I just record a little bit and forget to record more. So, yeah, today I'm planning to upload this cuz it's a story time of what's happened to me during quarantine. So, as you can tell by the title of the video, I almost lost my husband during quarantine. So at the same time, I'm going to be doing my work because I am working from home, and who can't multitask? You know what I mean? So let's see how it goes. So let's just jump right in. I'm also drinking coffee and I have water here, but I had my breakfast already. Things right now are just going okay, I guess no one's having a perfect life right now. But we do pray that this COVID thing ends, the sooner the better. And hopefully that, it doesn't spread anymore, and everybody who has it um, gets better and we can all overcome it all together. Okay, so during this quarantine time, let's go back to March, the end of March. I don't know the exact dates. I have them, but they're on paper. But don't mind me doing my work as I continue my story, please. My husband was in pain. One night we had dinner. He drank a beer, and it was a beer. I think it was one that or was it? It was like, I don't. It was like a Bud Light, Budweiser, something that he hadn't been drinking in a while because he normally just drinks another brand. Anyways, everything was going fine. The next morning, he woke up in pain, like pain. And we bought over the counter medication like Pepto Bismol. We bought, he drank Theraflu? No, not Theraflu. Maybe just to like warm his stomach or something. We bought, I think he took some Tylenol for the pain, and nothing was working. Like, he said that it would help out just a very tad bit, but nothing was really working. So he left it like that for days. He just said that it was something he ate. Like, he was probably, it was probably like food poison or something. I don't remember what we ate that night either. So, yeah, I really don't know what we ate that night. But he said it was probably something he ate or something he ate in the day at work that's just messing with his stomach. So I'm like, okay, well, he should, when it's, the feeling when your stomach hurts. So hopefully, yeah, it's that. So it went on for a couple days. He even had to take off of work a day or so. And he went to work one day like that, and then the next day he called out because he wasn't feeling well, because he had pain in his stomach. And then he was getting fevers like 2-3 days later. And then, well, I got mad at him, and I told him, let's go to the hospital. Let's go. He said, no, I don't want to go to the hospital because, you see the news, how, this was like when COVID had just like started, like not like just started, but it was really high up. Not as high as it is now, because right now it's really high, but everybody, they were saying that the hospitals were full, and not to go if you don't need to because, you know, a lot of people are contagious and so on and so forth. So my husband was scared to go to the hospital because of that same reason. And then so he's all like, well, the clinics are the same, so he didn't want to. So, you know, I couldn't make him go. So anyways, I said, fine. As soon as your pain is over, because he said it's getting better day by day. He's like, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. I'm like, okay, fine. You know if it's better or not. So a day, another few days go by. A couple days, not a few days. Maybe 1 or 2 days go by. And then my mom noticed the pains that my mom noticed that he's still like whatever, like walking jorobado, like kind of I don't know how you say it, but she can tell that he's still in pain while he's walking. Crouch down, a little bit while he was walking. So my mom, she got mad at him and she told him that you better go, you need to go, you have to do this for your son because it's not just a stomach ache because you're like holding your side, or you know, sometimes you hold your side and then you're having temperature, so or a fever, so that's, you know, that's a sign of something. So he finally gave in and told me, yes, I'll see a doctor. But he was still kind of like, well, I don't want to go into the clinic or anything. So finally I'm like, hey, look, well, before that I said, let's make a deal. When this is all over, when your stomach pain is gone, you're gonna go, and COVID and everything has, you know, where COVID is over or whatever, we get better after the quarantena, after the quarantine, you're gonna go get your physical and everything, get your physical labs and everything, just to make sure everything's good. He said fine. But then my mom came and she noticed he was still in pain, so he said, okay, I'll see a doctor. So I contacted a doctor that I know, and he's a naturopathy doctor. And I was on Facebook that day, and I saw him because I'm friends with him. I saw that he was doing home visits. I'm like, oh wow, what a great, you know, I couldn't come across it, you know, at a better time because, you know, my husband needs to see a doctor. So the doctor did come in, or come to my house, and it was just the funniest thing because I told my husband, everybody, if any neighbors saw the doctor and his medical assistant come in, like they're gonna think that we have COVID or something, because as soon as I open the door, he tells me, give me a moment, give me and my assistant a moment, because we just need to gear up. I'm like, okay. So then, yeah, they ring the doorbell when they were done, and then I open the door. They're full in PPE. They have a mask. They have, well, they were wearing glasses, but, you know, so that covers their eyes. But they had a mask. They had gloves. They had a gown. They had shoe protectors. They were just, you know, they were fully gowned, which was, you know, because of this pandemic, that's how they had to come in, you know, even though no one had symptoms of COVID, that's how they came in. So I told my husband that, you know, the neighbors were gonna think that we have COVID, or that whatever, we were exposed, or that the doctor came to test us for COVID, which is not the case at all. Anyways, the doctor came, and you know, they did his vitals, and he said, well, you know, everything looks okay, but, you know, I do hear like movement in your stomach, like movement or something. He's since you have pain there, it might be something with your appendix, it might be, you know, it might be other things. So he said, It could be appendicitis, just whatever. He gave us like 2 or 3 things it could be. So he said, I want you guys to go in I want you to go in and get an ultrasound of that area to see what's going on. So he prescribed him some medication, like antibiotics and some other painkiller or whatever, and some other things. Another thing, I forgot what it was. But after that, they left, and then right outside, they took off everything and then got in their car and they left. So then my husband's all, see, that's the thing I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go into a clinic. So here we go again, back to square one. Now it was getting him to go there. So this was maybe like a Wednesday. I think. Was it a Wednesday? I think so. No, it had to have been like a Tuesday, because then the doctor said, let me call and see if we can get him in same day to get that done. So I asked my husband, okay, so he's gonna get us in today. He's, oh no, we can't go today because COVID this, COVID that. I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go again. So then I called the doctor and I said, well, just schedule it tomorrow. So he scheduled it tomorrow, well, the next day. And I think my husband didn't want to go or something. Something happened. I think he went to work like that. But he just took it easy at work. And then he did go to work. And so he didn't come home on time to go to that appointment. He's, I'm not going to go. Why am I going to go? It's just scary out there and I might get exposed. So finally, I'm like, you know what? You do what you got to do. You do whatever you want to do. Like, I'm not going to push you no more. If you want to, you can go. If not, just, stay with the pain. But that night he was still having fevers. His fevers got worse. The next day too. And the day after that, I believe so too. And then, I think my mom came again or something, and she's all like, why don't you get it done? You're still in pain. So it could be, it could be something so small that it's going to get big because you're just not like going to get seen. So finally we convinced him to go. And I had to work, the days that he had, I could have gotten time off, but I just didn't know when he was gonna go. So finally he decided to go, and I was working. I'm like, fine. So he called me to help him with his insurance or whatever. So that was okay. And then I think he came home after that, because it was like in the afternoon. He came home, and like a couple hours later, the doctor calls me, because we put my cell phone number on there, and well, obviously he knows me, and he's all like, Amanda, I just want to let you know that it looks like he may have a ruptured appendix, so I need you guys to go to the hospital as soon as possible. So here, I didn't know. I mean, I knew about ruptured appendix, but I didn't know how severe they could be. I knew he had pain. He bared the pain for a few days. So he said it's either that or it's this. It looks like it may be ruptured, but I'm not like 100%. That's what I could see. So finally, I come home after work, like at 5. I tell my husband, the doctor said so and so said that you have to go to the hospital because it may be a ruptured appendix. So we're back at square one again, because he's all like, I don't want to go to the hospital. And I said, but it's, ruptured appendix can, I'm sure it has to be fixed or something. and you're having these fevers, so you may have an infection or something. I take him in and they do an ultrasound, and yep, sure enough, he had a ruptured appendix. And it was the bad thing was I couldn't be in there with him. I was able to help him fill out the paperwork, which he didn't need much help, but I was just there helping him. And then they triaged him, and then they said, well, you got to go, or you could wait outside in the car. So during this time, I was, also a full-time student, online student. So I did my homework. Like, I did my homework there in the this was about 7. So we took my son to my mom's house. I told my mom, and she said, yeah, bring him over. He could even stay the night if you need to. I'm like, okay. So I took him over. We went to the little hospital. That's when they told him that yes, it was a ruptured appendix. I was waiting outside, and it was a small hospital by my mom's house. And they said, well, we're gonna have to transport him to the bigger hospital. I'm like, oh great, another wait. Well, anyways, so they put him in the ambulance, and and this whole time he's like letting me know by text how he's doing and what's going on. And then he calls me and tells me the ambulance is almost here, they're gonna take me. So here I am hauling butt right behind the ambulance. It's just like I should have just took him myself, but anyways, I followed him, and I don't know why I did. I guess it was just for support, because I knew they weren't going to let me in the hospital. I tried going in, and they said no. Do you have symptoms of anything? No. Are you the patient? No, I'm here, with my husband, because he was brought in by ambulance. Well, unfortunately, we can't let you in because COVID and all this stuff. Fine. So I stayed there in the parking lot for a few hours. And probably now it's like midnight or something, and he tells me, well, yeah, they're gonna keep me a few overnight. So he's all like, go ahead and go home. I'm like, okay. Finally I go home, I get rest, and then I pick up my son. He stayed the night with my mom, then I picked him up the next morning early. And the doctor told my husband, if you would have waited at least one more day, you probably would not been here with us anymore. You probably would have, died because of the infection, because, I don't know when it ruptured, your appendix ruptured. I don't know when you started feeling pain, it's and you already had like an infection going almost everywhere. So he's all, it's a good thing you came when you did, because you might have not woken up the next day. And he just, like things got really real. So I was like praying so much, and I was telling God, thank you for letting him, finally go to the hospital, and knocking some sense into my husband. But so for recovery, what they had to do is they had to put like a tube inside on his side, so they had to like puncture him and put a tube in there, and then he had a bag for like 2 weeks that was like draining all the infection out. So he had to go in there and clean out or put some solution inside of him, and then that's what would go in and clean out the infection, and then the infection will come out to the bag. So that was kind of like super scary. So he was in the hospital for like 3 days, those 3 nights, I think 3 nights. 3 nights, 4 days. I felt so lonely, because and I'm sure he did too, because he had no one to talk to. There was nobody there for support for him. we didn't know how we just didn't know what to expect. Like, I didn't know he was going to be there for days. Had I known, I would have packed him some clothes, some socks, every necessities. And I would have packed him his charger, so every time he would have to turn off, his cell phone so it doesn't use too much battery. So he would only turn it on to call me and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, it was just so awkward. So finally, they let him out. They showed him how to inject that, stuff inside of the tube so it could clean out all the infection. And so that's what he was doing here, and I was helping him as well. And that went on for like 2 weeks. And then finally we took him in for a follow-up, and the doctor said that everything looked good, that he took it out, and the only other sign for him to go back into the hospital or see a doctor is if he felt any more pain or anything else. But recovery would be kind of quick, because of the incision. He had to wait like at least 2 weeks or maybe a month for it to like really heal. So he couldn't really lift a lot and do a lot. So he stayed home from work for 2 weeks. And yeah, it was just like an experience from a movie. It seemed like so like, I don't know, it didn't seem like a normal, I don't know, it didn't seem like life, because of the fact that, I couldn't be there with him. This pandemic, everybody's scared, everybody with masks, and, like only certain people going into the hospital. And, it was just so weird the way the doctors came in my house, or the doctor came in my house, It's just like something you see in a movie, but that's going on in real life. But yeah, I thank God every day that my husband made it through, that he went on time. He was like so terco, like, like I don't know, you just have to really, like, if you don't feel good, like, like a flu and stuff like that, or minor things, like, you don't have to go to the hospital. But things like this, when when there's a fever and you've been having pain for at least 2 days, those are signs that something's not right with your body. Those are signs that are telling you, go get help or whatever. So I'm glad we did. I'm glad he was there. Now he's fully recovered and he's working like no other. Yeah, so everything now is okay. We're just trying to keep away from like big crowds. Thank God nobody in my family has COVID. It's just a scary time right now. I'm glad that my job has me working from home right now for a couple weeks. I'm super glad that my mom's working from home. My mom is working from home, and she's been working from home already for like 3 months or 2 months, and she's gonna continue to work for another couple months. But yeah, it's crazy out there. So hopefully everybody is staying safe and practicing social distancing, and also wearing a mask, because that reduces spreading infections, and also spreading it to people who are very, very what would I say it, I guess vulnerable to it. So yeah, that was my story. I have like a couple other stories, but I don't know if I should record those, because yeah. I gotta make sure it's okay with the other people. But yeah, it was it is okay for right now. My husband is completely fine. My son, he didn't take it too hard, like as in like he missed his dad, but his dad would call and they would talk on the phone, and he just told him that he was working and stuff. So yeah, so that's the end of my story. I hope you liked it. Just get checked, please, if there's anything wrong with you or your significant other, any type of signs of sickness, just get attended, because the sooner you find out, the better. That way the problem doesn't get worse. Until next time, guys. Bye.